Welcome back to the stream. Today we are going to focus on building a powerful, dreamy ambient pad in Reaktor. So, Reaktor is a sound design program where you can design sounds from scratch. I'm just going to open up the interface and let you see what's inside. So when we open up Reaktor, you can see that there's several options here put in front of us. We have the option to play instruments Reaktor, just using the stock instruments. We can just play instruments in. We have an option to patch, which is using cabling to join together modules and create different sound elements. And finally, we can build custom synths, samplers, and effects inside of Reaktor, such as other sound design tools. So today we're going to go into the build section, and let me just start off by saying today we'll be diving into sound design by creating a lush, dreamy pad from scratch in Reaktor. So pads are really essential for adding texture and atmosphere in your sounds, especially when it comes to ambient music and electronic and other cinematic music. So to start off, we're going to be setting up the oscillator, and we're going to need two oscillators with different waveforms for a rich texture. One with a wave and one with a sawtooth. And we can even add another triangle or pulse wave to that for more harmonic content in the sound. So we're going to detune one of the oscillators slightly as well, so that we can create phasing effect, where two cycles of a wave kind of ride over each other, and that's the phenomenon we call phasing, and that adds depth to the pad sounds and shows how the combination of different waveforms create a fuller and more complex sound. So we're also going to be applying a filter for smoothness, and we'll introduce a low pass filter to soften the high frequencies and make the sound feel more like ethereal. We'll also modulate the cutoff for a slow LFO to create a little bit of a pulsing effect and create gradual evolving movement inside that sound. And really, when we create gentle filter movements, it'll keep the pad sounds dynamic and interesting over time rather than just a static sound. We're also going to be doing a few more things, and we'll tweak it as we go along to get into the sound design of this dreamy pad. We're going to first go into the build section, and we're going to go into player, and from player we're going to go into blocks and bento box blocks and util blocks. So in the util blocks, it's just like how it sounds. These are utility blocks inside of Reaktor, which are for utility purposes, which are mostly going to be used in several different ensembles or projects, whatever you want to call it. Also, we have the bento blocks, which are mainly different modules that you're going to see commonly used when creating and setting up modular synthesis racks or modular synthesis in general. You can see these small little names on the side. They have like amp, filter, mix, modulator, oscillator, and this is a processor, and this is a sequencer. So as you can see, they're kind of named as to what their purpose is, and it gives you an idea of what they're used for. But how you use them is really up to you. And these ones inside utility are, as you hear the name, for utility. You have a scope, which we're going to be using. We have also a util level in, and a clock, and several different other things that you may need, just as accessory tools to creating your sounds you want to hear. So now we're going to start building the synth, and I'm going to grab a note in, and we're going to start off building. So we're going to need a util note in. So that would be this right here. We need a note in to start off. Then we'll grab two oscillators from Bento Box. We'll grab an oscillator, and it'll be the Bento oscillator. Then we'll grab another oscillator from, let's grab a Monarch oscillator. Then we'll grab another oscillator to finish our sound. We'll grab an LFO because we're going to need an LFO to modulate. We're also going to need a filter for smoothness, so we can filter out our sounds. And then we're also going to need a stereo out, stereo control, and that's going to help us send out signal from Reaktor. So we have our stereo out right there, and then we'll also need an envelope for ADSR. So that means attack, decay, sustain, and release. And what an ADSR does is allows you to control those different parameters of an actual sound wave and really control from the note in to what it sounds like coming out of your speakers, how that sound is manipulated or the pitches are manipulated. So we're going to add a an ADSR envelope. So that would be under, which one do you think it would be under? It'd probably be under Bento Box because that's a basic block. So we're going to add that in, and we'll call this the amp envelope. The reason we're calling it the amp envelope, I kind of jumped ahead a step, but the reason we're calling it the amp envelope is because we're going to hook this up to the amp, and the amp is our final connection outside before we hit the stereo level outs. So that's our amp right there, and then we're gonna hook up this we're gonna hook this whole thing up in just a second. So now we're gonna add some effects, maybe some reverb or chorus. So we're gonna go to rounds, and these are where some of our effects are. We can add, actually let's add something else, maybe a chorus effect or a comb filter. Let's see. Or distortion. Let's see what we can add here. So, okay, I think I'm going to choose just a standard delay for now. And we'll get this thing hooked up and start manipulating the sounds in just a minute. So, we'll add, yeah, this is really reverb and delay. Those are really to add, create space, a sense of depth to our sound, and really add an effect of echo or complexity to our sound. So that's what we're trying to do with the delay. So now let's hook up our connections. So we have our entire modular setup here. We're going to patch in to the pitch, out from the pitch to the second oscillator. We can actually connect these oscillators separately. We'll connect them both actually to pitch, and then we'll have a mix knob in between so we can blend both of those sounds together. So we'll go to util, we'll go to mix, and we'll add in a mix knob so that we can start blending those sounds together. So grab that to there, to 1, and this goes to 2, and then they'll both go out to the same filter. They'll both go out to the same amp, and they'll both go out to stereo left and right, and then that'll go into left and right effects. And that left and right will go out to the speakers. We're going to add one more thing here. We're going to add in, we're going to connect our VCA, which our amp is our amp, so we can get a note in signal. We're going to modulate the amp, and we're going to take our gate signal from our note in, and it's every time we press a key, it's going to send a gate signal to the envelope, ADSR envelope, and out through the amp. And that's going to give us signal. Every time I press a note in key, you can see that the note in is lighting up, but also you'll see down here on the VCA, this is also lighting up every time I press a key. So that's activated, but we have to actually activate the modulation depth to hear a sound. So we're going to do that in a minute, but first I'm going to connect an LFO to the main oscillator. So we're connected to FM. And then we're going to get some sound going and turn the modulation depth all the way up. Okay, we got the modulation depth all the way up. And then the reason why we're not hearing anything is because our mix knobs for each oscillator is turned all the way down to 0. So sometimes you'll have modules where they're turned down to 0 by default, and you have to turn them up to hear anything. So I'm going to try to disappear the wires. So let's just try to find that. Okay. Wires. Let's see here. Edit file. Okay. View. Can't find the wires right now, but I'll definitely get back to that and give you guys an update on how to do that. So we'll just continue with connecting, and we're going to turn up the mix knob for the first oscillator. And you can hear clean tones coming through from the first oscillator. And we can change the pitch of that oscillator. We can also add an LFO. We're not modulating anything yet with the LFO because we need to turn up FM on the actual oscillator. So you can see that now that pitch is being modulated, sorry. And the way we're going to see that, we're going to add in a scope so we can see what we're doing. So I'm going to add in a scope, connect it out into the VCA before we hit the left and right speakers. And you can see the wave. We can visualize the waveform. I'm going to organize this dash just a little bit so that it's a little bit clearer as to how the signal is flowing. So it's going there, and then there, and this is the LFO, and the oscillator. Yep. This is the direct path. Okay, great. So now we have a signal, and we can modulate that signal. I'm going to move this under here so we can see it a little better. So if we go and try to add some LFO, it should become a faster wave. You can change the shape. We can also adjust the phase. So That's not it though, because we have more. There's more, but wait, there's more. So, adding the second oscillator. You can hear they're overlapping now. Play with the filter, play with the attack, sustain, decay, and we can pretty much manipulate any parameter we want, and really get that dreamy tone. We can add some more movement if we want to by duplicating the LFO and adding another one to our actual oscillator one. So we can rename this LFO2. So we know the difference between LFOs. And we'll move this one here. We'll move this right beside the other LFO. So LFO2 goes there. And the first oscillator goes there. So basic oscillator, LFO, basic oscillator, LFO2, second oscillator. And we can add some movement here. To hear it's working, you can turn off the first oscillator and just check. Okay. So you can play a short progression with it just to give it a test. And there you go. So I want to encourage you guys to experiment with different modulation sources like LFOs or even envelopes and add your own effects to create unique sounds and pads. You can take this as an example, experiment with it, and let me know how it goes. Peace out. Till next time.